The Edify Show with special guest, Melissa Gilbert. And now, the host of The Edify Show, Elliott Wallach.
Hi everybody, welcome to Hearties TV Tuesday on The Edify Show. This is a big one. It's been a long wait. It's finally here. I have an interview with Melissa Gilbert, and I've been dying to show you this one. I'm like you guys. I was a fan as a kid, so I have to admit, my inner child was freaking out a little bit on this one. But there was another reason I was so anxious to talk to her, and I want to set it up for you. Okay, it was at the Hearties family reunion. I introduced Michael Landon Jr., who made the announcement that Melissa Gilbert was going to be part of the show. And I gotta tell you, it was one of the most electric, powerful moments that I've ever seen in my career. And I've been dying to know, what was that like for her? What was that like from Melissa Gilbert's perspective when she met the Hearties? So as a lead into my interview with Melissa Gilbert, I wanted to show you Michael Landon Jr. sharing his feelings for his father's work with Little House on the Prairie and introducing Melissa Gilbert. You're gonna love it. Let's take a look.
Thank you all. My favorite of my father's work by far. So I want to share a little story with you that took place in March of this year. It's the 50th anniversary of Little House on the Prairie. And in Simi Valley, there was 20,000 fans that showed up to honor the show. And it was incredibly moving to hear the impact of my father and the show had on so many lives, touching people when they were in places of difficulty, you know, whether it be a broken family, no father, and my father became a surrogate for them. And my sister and I were both there. We were moved to tears, as you can see. But while we were meeting the fans of Little House, about 1 out of every 5 of the fans would mention "When Calls the Heart" to me. And I was like, that is pretty darn cool. But how could we get it to 5 out of 5? Because I want more people to know about this show and the hearts of the Hearties. And so I started thinking, what could we do that could bring those Little House fans to When Calls the Heart? And I thought, well, maybe what we need to do is bring one of the stars of Little House on the Prairie to When Calls the Heart. And we just happen to have one that has joined our show, season 12, and I'd like to introduce you to Melissa Gilbert.
Melissa, thank you so much for being on this program.
Sure, happy to be here.
I am so excited to talk to you. You know, the first interaction was, I know you talked about this earlier, I'm going to talk about it again, the Hearties family reunion, you know, because when you're talking about When Calls the Heart, it's this comp of a show that's like a family magnet that brings people together as a family. What show in history can you really think of? And everybody was thinking Little House. And then Michael comes out and says, Melissa Gilbert's gonna be on When Calls the Heart. And I saw people literally cry, literally get emotional. And then he said, in fact, she's here now. And I never saw anything like it in my life. I saw 330 cell phones. Everybody's like this on the cell phones. And I'm so curious, what did that feel like to you when you came out? Was it anything like what you expected when you were there?
It was nothing like what I expected. I don't know what I expected, but I walked out. The first thing I said was, oh my gosh, I have chills. Because I walked out and the thunderous reaction was so overwhelming. My whole body just chilled right up. I was blown away. And just like thinking in the back of my head, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, you got this, you got this, you got this.
Right.
Because I didn't want to start. I knew Michael, we had a half-an-hour interview, and you know, he knows me really well, so I was really kind of anticipating what questions he might ask.
Right.
And So I didn't want to start out crying because I knew he would make fun of me.
Right.
Yeah, right off the bat. He's a brother.
Right.
You know?
Right. No, and he's the thing, we were talking about this earlier, but the thing that people wouldn't necessarily guess, he's actually a pretty shy person, that he's not necessarily a person that would want to go to the limelight. And I swear you brought something out in him that I've never seen any time with him. It was so cool. You could really see the connection you two have, this friendship. It was so cool. I was so excited you were coming on, but after seeing that, and especially after seeing their reaction, I really, really hope that, like Tiff was saying, I really hope that you stay on. The thing I'm so curious about, because you guys have that long relationship, because you guys played on the set of Little House, you guys vacationed together, is that right?
We went to school together, we vacationed together, our families went out on our parents went out on New Year's Eve together, we got in trouble together, we got into mischief together. I mean, we were like cousins or siblings, very, very close.
Right, and then so knowing that his career and where he's directing films and everything, what is it like for you to come actually be on something so similar to Little House, and then, you know, and then have Michael be the one to bring you on, have it be his show or part of his show?
You know, the weight of it didn't hit me because all of the technical stuff of getting it done at first, when, you know, it all happened really fast. Mike called me and asked me if I'd be interested. I said yes, and then there was nothing, and then there was nothing, and then all of a sudden, boom, he said, we need you on Tuesday, and this was on a Thursday, and we're negotiating my contract and getting me to Vancouver and blah, 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 blah. And so I didn't really have time to think long and hard about it. And I got on the set the first day and got dressed and was looking around and saw the town and was kind of getting a feel for it. And I walked into where they were holding us, where our chairs were, and I got so overwhelmed with emotion. And I realized, and they texted Michael and Leslie and said, you guys, I'm here with tears in my eyes because I just realized your dad would have loved this. Your dad would have flipped if he'd known that you, Mike, are my boss. Which, by the way, I will only say once.
What do we have it on film? We can play together again.
Oh, no!
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. And it is an interesting thing with Michael, because if you want to get him emotional, when he starts talking about his dad, I remember one time people talked about it, and it was for his dads to see the fans, to see the hearties and the way that they are.
Having seen the way the Little House fans are, and then seeing this too, he would have been so incredibly puffed up and proud. He'd be so proud of Michael.
And
all of his kids are amazing.
Yeah, 9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a lot of cousins.
I had a lot of friends growing up.
Right, yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
That was my favorite family to hang out with because there's always someone to play with.
I swear Michael's got the best stories, you know. I mean, like when he talks about, I'm curious if you even know him all, like where he talked about trying to sell a tour of the land and estate. You ever heard that one?
No.
Like the tour bus was going by his house and he needed money and his family was gone, so he's going out selling to tour the land and estate, but nobody believed him.
His sister once, she and I were driving through Beverly Hills and we were stopped at a light and a tour bus came up next to us and she jumped out of the car and jumped over the hood of my car and said, Melissa Gilbert's in this car. And I'm in my car going, Leslie, I just learned to drive too, so I was scared enough.
Well, it's such a unique thing because in a way you and him have a very shared similarity in terms of your childhood. I mean, your family goes all the way back to vaudeville from what I read.
Yeah, way back. My father, my father's father was an Irish vaudevillian and his mother was an acrobat in the circus in France. And so my father started out as a child as an acrobat on the trapeze with Ringling Brothers, with a family from Buenos Aires. He was sent away and trained with them. So he flew the trapeze until he was a teenager, and then he joined the Army Air Corps in World War II. And then he became an actor and a singer and a dancer and a writer and a stand-up comic. And so our families were very similar, and our moms were very close. Wow. Very, very close. My mom and Mike's mom, Lynn, and my auntie Lynn were very close. They're part of a very tiny group of women who, the A-Team, they were called, who some of them are still alive, my mom included.
And you guys would vacation together?
We did. We'd go to Hawaii together every spring break, same hotel, same group of families and kids, and get into a lot of mischief, a lot of ding-dong ditch on people's hotel room doors, kick the can. Yeah, we got into some mischief. We went places we weren't supposed to. We did some really dumb things as kids too, like on New Year's Eve when they all got dropped off at our house one year, and so we decided at midnight that we were going to fill up water balloons and go down to the bottom of the cul-de-sac where I lived and throw them at cars going by at midnight on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
This is not a time to be throwing water balloons. I mean, there's really not a good time to do it anyway. But on New Year's Eve, and of course, then my brother throws one, and we hear boom, and then the lights start. He hit a police car. So we all turned to run, and I had all these water balloons in my shirt. Leslie and Mike and I did, and we turned and we ran into a thorn bush, got soaked, made it back to my house just before our parents got home. I don't know if they ever found out about it.
I know. Well, we got that on film too now.
Oh, sorry, Mom.
Wow. Wow. So the thing I keep wondering is what is dinner like? You know, because your dad had to have the best stories. Michael Landon had to have the best stories. Michael Landon Jr. now has great stories. I can only imagine what his dad was.
Oh, it was just constant and laughter, and they were just constantly making fun of us always. I mean, with my dad, he would do bits where my favorite bit that my dad did, and he did it consistently, and I can't do it because it's funny, but I'll make a mess, is we would be talking at the dinner table, and he'd take a sip of water and just talk, and it would just fall out of his mouth, and he wouldn't acknowledge it. It would just fall. Mike Landon used to just throw food. He would hit us with spoonfuls of peas and potatoes, and we weren't allowed to throw food back, but it would definitely come at us. Yeah.
So, because I've heard some of it's like urban legend of the pranks that he would do on the set. I've heard stories about like him talking to people and have a frog.
Frogs. Well, I was the frog getter.
You were the frog getter.
I was the accomplice.
Okay.
He'd lean over and go, "Half pint, get me one." And so I'd go down to the pond and I'd get a couple frogs and he'd put them in our mouth. And usually he did it when there were, women on the set just kind of standing there ogling because, he's walking around without his shirt on and his paw pants and his boots and his suspenders. And they're all sort of swooning in the corner. And then he'd walk over and go, "Hi." Frogs would jump out.
Wow.
Because he was a grown-up.
Yeah. Definitely somebody I would have loved to. I would have loved to have been somehow invited to one of those Thanksgiving dinners or just whatever, just to see your dad and everybody unfold and everything else.
And you add Victor French into that mix, who played Mr. Edwards on our show, and it's just constant laughter. Constant laughter.
I think there was a missed opportunity though for you to do it, like take the frog and put it in some kind of salsa or hot sauce or just something where you could have gotten back at him. Did you ever do anything to him? I mean, if he's pranking everybody.
No.
Oh, you didn't want to declare that war.
Good Lord. No. No. That's like playing a prank on George Clooney. He'll get you with a long con. No. Oh, no.
You were good being half pint assistant.
Completely happy to be just the accomplice in the Michael Landon plots.
Wow. So for you, when you came to Wind Calls the Heart, there was some sort of Little House flashbacks for you, or because I know you've played in. I mean, I was looking at your IMDb page. It's like scroll. It's like, and the thing that I thought was so remarkable is you've got over 200 different sections, but in there's 200 episodes. One of those is 200 episodes. Well, and then a lot of things with the stars, battle with this stars, battle with those stars, and everything. So imagine you've worn sort of this frontier outfits and everything, but it's been a while, since you've done it. What did it feel like when you're coming back? And what was Little House like compared to Jamestown here? Is it?
Well, this is a little more, this is a little fancier than we had it back in Walnut Grove. We never had a crop. We never had a success. Nobody on that show had a successful crop. The Ingalls never had a successful crop. The Wilders never had a successful crop. So we were always just starving with our hand-woven dish towels and, our sad little mismatched tin cups. This is a little more opulent and fancy. Also, it's generation later.
Right.
So that's different. This is an interesting time in the world, too, the 20s when electricity was coming in and telephones were coming in and the Industrial Revolution was about to take place and nobody knew that we were about to enter the Great Depression. There's a stock market crash,
right?
A boom, and the Dust Bowl. And so this was a really fascinating time, actually, I think. So I love that the show is set when it is because there's so many different places for it to go.
Yeah, no, totally. And I don't think anybody's ever done that approach. I agree with you, like seeing how the technology comes out. The nice thing about Hope Valley is they don't have the Spanish flu, or
Exactly.
World War I.
Exactly.
Or anything like that. But what we do have is we have Melissa Gilbert now.
You do?
We do.
Oh,
We
I
do.
love her.
Yeah, I know, George. We've arrived, at this point, and God willing, like I said, I think it's just like the fans are going to be so excited. First of all, if they announce the season 13, which God willing, and then if and then I think it would just be tremendous to have you come back. I'd love to talk to you year after year.
That would be delightful. I will keep my fingers crossed. We've had this conversation in my family, and I said, guys, especially my husband, are we all down if this happens? And I go back, and everybody said, go, go, go. We're ready to do this.
All right, that's it. It's settled. I mean, just there's a lot of votes right there.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
so that-
Well, in my family, are you kidding? With our 7 children and 9 grandchildren?
Yeah, can't wait. Yeah, well, thanks again for being on the program. Keep looking, you guys. Keep watching for Melissa Gilbert and season 12. And we're like I said, we're so excited that you're part of the crew.
Well, so am I. Thanks so much.
You bet.
I have to say, I enjoyed Melissa Gilbert so much. My conversations with her off camera were exactly like my conversations you saw when the camera was on. I mean, she is an absolute blast. I can't think of a better word for it. She's so fun. What a terrific fit for all things Hope Valley. I'm definitely hoping we can see a lot more of her. And hopefully, if that happens, we'll be right here bringing it all to you right here on the Edify Show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time, everybody.
Tune in next week for Hearties TV Tuesday. Elliott will be interviewing Ben Rosenbaum on the set of Wind Calls the Heart. You won't want to miss it. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube page. And never miss a thing when you register at hearties.com, where people around the world are coming together to support inspiring entertainment. And we'll see you next week on The Edify Show.